Hey guys, so this is called the Lineage of the Bible, and I've been working on this project like a year. I've been having dreams that have introduced me to many of these characters in person, where I either can see them in their time period or I can interact with them. So I try to do the pictures of them as accurately as possible. I've had a lot of words that have explained to me a lot of different things about the Bible that we just couldn't know. So, this project was primarily to teach me because of my position, but it can also help you. And in this project, what is interesting is I have been pressed to study into genealogy in what is called the study of haplogroups, and I have studied into archaeology, history, and obviously the Bible, as well as biblical Greek and biblical Hebrew. So in this, there are a few bombshells that are things that you might have learned differently, but they are as accurate as possible in this study. They are not necessarily the traditional view, but most of it is the traditional view. But there are a few bombshells that, it is what it is. I can't change history and sweep it under the rug, and neither can you, and you shouldn't settle for that. Now, I'm using the New King James Version in the majority of this project. So this project is heavily based on people, their names, the environment around them, where they live, what their culture is, and how that affects the story through the Bible. A study is done chronologically from Adam to Revelation, and it is like completely as holistic as possible while keeping it as fluid and quick as possible. The lists of lineage that are in every single branch of the Bible have been evaluated, used, and put into a visual format. And I'm going to explain a little bit about that before we get into everything, because this is just the intro video, just explaining what everything is and what to expect. The next 7 videos are going to be 7 different time periods through the Bible, chronological order, and it will be from Adam to the 12 tribes. That'll be the first one. Then Moses through the Promised Land as the second. Judges through Samuel as the third. The monarchy through Solomon as the fourth. The divided kingdom through the return of exile through the fifth. The intertestamental time through Jesus' ministry as the sixth. And then the seventh is the New Testament church through Revelation. Integrated into this process is prophecy and how it aligns, how it makes sense. This project is filled with maps and timelines and things that YouTube format really isn't great at, okay? I'm going to film and do as much as I can to explain and put a succinct pathway through the study through 1 through 7. But the real goal of this study is so that you have something that you could sit side by side with and read through the Bible, and you could have more information. Like, you could have a better, full understanding of why this person would say that, do that, think that, because you have a bigger picture of their surrounding world, as well as who they may be related to or not related to, and that really affects a lot of the dynamics as you're reading through the Bible. This does cover the Israelites, the pre-Israelites, the post-Israelites, but this God's people, that chunk of people. But it also goes around all the people that are around them that are not saved and that are kind of the villains of the story and what happens with them. And it's just a really interesting story, a really interesting study. And I really enjoyed doing it. Now, I know a lot of you have been freaking out because I haven't been on here for so long. Once you see the volume of work that is done, you will understand. You'll be like, oh, yeah, no one can do that. The amount of work that's in this project is a miracle in itself. It would be a 5-year project for a normal person. I was pulling 10 to 15 hours a day, almost every single day, doing this project and doing my regular life and all the hurdles that Satan throws where I have to drive for somebody or somebody gets sick and all these different things that happen, right? So it's a miracle in itself it's even done. It's 333 pages for the Lineage project itself. There's another set of pack of like information you could have that's like bigger maps and title pages and stuff like that. But it's a lot of information to go through the entire Bible chronologically and come up with the entire lineage story that we have here. Now, in this process, when you go to the website, which there's a link down below in each of these videos, if you go to the website, there will be different formats that you could download. They're all the same exact thing, but they're in different formats. So there's one that is best if you want to print it out, and that is called Lineage 1 and Lineage 2. So those two you can print out. You print it in double page spread, you print it in best quality, and you print it in color, and you could put it in a 3-ring binder and you could see it and study it very easily. I am telling you right now, that's not an affordable choice. So if you're budget friendly and you're concerned about spending a lot on printer ink, that's not for you, okay? Now, the second way is called the double page spread, and there are two of those, the double page spread 1 and the double page spread 2, and those are best for viewing digitally. So you could pull it up on the website, you could scan through the entire thing, you could download the PDF, put it on a iPad, computer, whatever, and scan through it, but it's in a double page spread. Why is that important? Because in this study, there are a lot of families that are larger. It takes an entire double page spread to see them. And then there are also a lot of timelines, and those timelines have to spread across a double page spread. And if you only see one half of that picture, it's not going to make a lot of sense, okay? So the double page spread is best for viewing digitally if you're just going to scroll through, read, and study that way. Then there's going to be 7 separate PDFs. This is all the same information in every single one, but the PDFs that are 1 through 7 are going to match the videos. It's going to be the beginning to the end of each video, that time period. So if you were the kind that only wanted to do one video at a time and one printing at a time or something like that, you could do that. So you're going to have lots of options on the website. I'm also going to tell you this is far too long and took far too much time to create. There's no possibility I can read every single thing on every single page in a recording. So if you have a high interest in this, you're going to need to get some form of PDF downloaded or printed or whatever to really read all the details. Another thing that connected to the details is some of the maps had to be very small to fit them on the page. So there's a second PDF that is only maps, and it is only also the tabernacle and temples and different things so you could compare them. Those are in a separate pack, a separate PDF, but they're giant. So you can get a much easier look at them, and they're categorized by what page they came from. So they're not hard to find. They're in the same order that they are in the Lineage project, okay? So all of this is to say it's to help you study better, okay? What I'm going to do is burn through as quick as possible a pathway of the most efficient, the main families we need to talk about, so that when we get to really prominent stories, it'll make a lot of sense why these people and not that people are in it. And it also helps with the prophecy, the understanding of prophecy, because everything is very cyclical in the Bible. And some of the consequences have not occurred yet for some of the things that have been prophesied. And they're prophesied to different people groups that relate to the lineage. That's not to say there's some sort of generational curse or anything like that. Please drop that concept. We're not having that conversation. My favorite part of the study is how clear it becomes to see God's hand weave and shape and tell the story. And that became so evident. I mean, it's evident in the Bible, but it explodes off the page in this study. I was really, really enjoying that part. So I hope you guys enjoy this study as much as I did making it. It was labor intensive and sometimes exhausting, I'm not going to lie, but that doesn't mean it will be that way for you. I think that you'd be able to just take it in, learn really quickly. My goal is to have the most efficient way for you to understand the information. And in our day and age, especially with most of the people that I know, they would prefer to have a visual format than word format. So in any case possible where that could be done, I put images instead of words, or images subtitled with something much less detailed with words, because a lot of us have a trouble with looking at, piles of words, and it just gets like too much. You get exhausted. I think you can bust through this pretty quickly. On the top of every single page, you're going to find verses where I found information, and you're also going to have verses that are on some of the pages. So if you're studying along, you can clearly go through the Bible bit by bit and find all of this information like its own Bible study. But you're going to have to do that work. I'm not going to sit here and walk you through all that, okay? I have graphics that represent each person that is mentioned in the Bible. Unless they're a minor player, then they get a line, in a box. But all the major players and all the people that are really listed out, they get a box. And in their box is a structured way to understand that information. So at the top here, we have wife of Aaron. That is like their title or how they're related, why they're important to the story. The color of the box reflects which generation it is. If you're a visual learner, it's going to help you, okay? For me, it was a way to keep every generation straight from one another, because in some of the points of lineage, it becomes very important to know that there's 1, 2, or 3 different generations away from one another, because it changes who's who. So they use a lot of repetitive names. They name someone after someone else they honor. Therefore, you come up with some trouble. Okay, so we have the title of the person, or how they're important, how they're related. So in some times this is a wife or a husband or a cousin. Most of the time it's a title of what they do. The color of the box reflects which generation, because it's very important for me putting this together to keep the generations separated. There's a face, and if possible, I put how I saw that person in my dream. If I did not get any information of that person, then I use the haplogroup information from researching haplogroups, and used that as the dynamic to help me stay on track of it's going to look more this way than that way. So this is not a random bunch of pictures that are chosen. Then we have the name of the person, and if they are a group of siblings, then it'll say number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, whatever. That's the birth order if it is given. If it is not given, then we don't have that, okay? Then the meaning of that person's name. Then there will be a haplolineage information. That's more for me to keep everything straight. If you're interested in haplogenetics, start at Wikipedia. Then there is the tribe or the country. In this case, it's Judah. And then there's a row for extra information. So in this person's case, it says AKA Elizabeth. El-Sheba in one time period was the same exact name as Elizabeth in another time period. So it helps clarify information, because as language changes through the Bible, the names really don't change that much. It's just how the language is translated. The other thing is, on all the timelines, the dates are estimates. Yes, I did my due diligence to do it as efficiently and perfectly as possible with the information we have in our time, but that doesn't mean it's 100% accurate. But what is 100% accurate is we can count on the fact that God's information is right, okay? So I took God's information as primary and worked the math backwards until we get to where the beginning is, okay? And then we work the math forwards until we get to where Jesus' time is and the early church. So it is not going to be perfect. Also, I'm the only person doing this. I don't have a team of editors. I did have a couple of my leaders help like read through and see if they, what they found or if something really stood out to them. But that's really not the same as having an editor like in a publishing. And if there's like errors, I'm sorry. That's just life. I mean, if we want to get to the point where it's edited perfectly, let's add another year. If you would like to have things like a bibliography everywhere, proof of where I found everything, add another year. I don't have that kind of time. I don't think you do either. So I think we need to just lay it out, get it on the table, and move forward. If anyone loves to argue in comments, doesn't matter. Not going to have the argument. It's just not going to happen. This is my presentation of what the Lord laid on me to find, do, and write. Okay, I was led through this day by day, dream by dream, words by words. So all I can say is if you don't agree with me, I'm not saying, oh, you disagree with God. I'm just saying if you don't agree with me, that's fine. Go do your own project. I'm not going to have a conversation about it though. And I hope you have a great day, and I hope you enjoy this lineage study.